You'd be surprised what you can get accomplished just by digging into those things. I mean, if you know you come from a racist background, or if you come from where race was talking about a certain way, be honest about what those conversations were and what they taught you. And ask yourself, is this the kind of person that you really want to be?
Yeah, I feel like there's a 21st century mindset and a 21st century skill set that everybody's going to need a mindset of empathy. And we're going to be dealing with people of every color, flavor, every kind of human being ever born. We all have to deal with each other now. Because of the internet, because of just the world economy. You're going to be competing against people in China and Nigeria. That's just the world. So you have to have a mindset of empathy to really try to understand where people are coming from. You have to have a skill set of listening. If you understand this conversation, you can talk to black folk and brown folk and Muslims, everybody else. So we're trying to confer a benefit to you. We're trying to make you better. It'll make my life better, but it'll make your life better too. Now, what charity are you supporting?
Well, as some people can maybe see my T-shirt, it says "Support Black Journalists." Right, the lack of still Black journalists in most newsrooms is pretty appalling. What changed my life and what got me really on the right path in this business was being a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. NABJ is the largest minority journalism organization in the country. The development, the networking, job fair, internships, scholarships, what happens there has changed lives. It changed a lot of people's careers. I mean, people like you, Van, and everybody even I think Roland Martin, Soledad O'Brien. It's just a number of people, Michael Wilbon, that are a part of this organization and have been able to build legacies there. And so it's on us to, again, usher in this next generation of young journalists who I get it right now, feeling really discouraged when they look at not just what a lot of newsrooms look like, a lot of networks look like, but also we're under the under the shadow of a pandemic right now. So there's a lot of journalists who have lost their jobs. A lot of companies are downsizing. They need a reason to believe and to be in this business. And so
Ouais.
NABJ has done so much for my career and continues to do that for others. So that's the
Bon, ça,
charity
c'est à
that
moi.
I
Moi, c'est
support, an
moi.
organization that
Ça,
has
c'est,
changed
ça,
my
c'est
life
moi.
and that of many others.
Ouais, sur John Wick, hein.
Well,
C'est mon
listen,
pseudo. Parce que c'est moi, j'ai
I
tourné le film. Ouais,
support that.
parce que j'ai fait des
NABJ is a
vidéos,
great
mais là, après,
organization. I've
c'est
got
un
groups I
peu.
want to support as well. But what I want to say to
C'est
you
un peu
is just
long.
thank
Mais
you
moi,
for
ça
your
va.
light, for your leadership, for your courage, for your entrepreneurship, for your T-shirts and all that type of stuff. Make sure to support the sister businesses,
Yeah,
and let's keep this conversation going. Much
yeah,
love to you.
thank you, Van. This is a pleasure.
I got good news for you. I got bad news for you. The good news is that people are activating all around the world, all across the planet for change. That is a powerful moment. Here's the bad news. Unfortunately, this is not a one answer fixes everything situation. We're talking about
Ça, c'est moi, hein.
systemic problems,
Voilà.
which
Il y
means
en
it's
a
not
qui
just
disent,
one
ouais,
law
c'est
or
qui
one
filme,
person.
c'est
You need
qui joue,
360
bah, ça, c'est
degrees
bon.
of change to
Au moins,
shift to
comme
get
ça,
the
vous savez
outcome
que
that's
c'est
right.
moi.
But we can get there if we keep talking,
Ça, c'est
if
moi
we
que j'ai
keep
fait une
working,
vidéo
if we keep building.
sur
And if we do that, we
Fortnite, mais
can
là,
reshape America. That can be done. It's been done in the past. We can
c'est
move
pas
the whole
délire.
world in a
C'est chaud,
better
c'est chaud.
direction. So I hope that your cell phone right now is full of screenshots of these tools that we've been trying to give you to continue taking action from this virtual town hall. When this stream ends, the conversation should not end. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep going. We are in an important moment in history. And what you do is going to determine the outcome. 2020 is going to be talked about for 20 years, 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. But the future's not written. It's up to what you and I do and what you and I decide is going to happen. So I want to give a special thanks to the powerful voices that we've had: Elaine Welteroth, Killer Mike, Jamel Hill. Make sure you visit 50percentpledge.org to learn more about the power of money. Also visit my organization, reformalliance.com. We're trying to make a change. Let's be about it, not just talk about it. I'm Van Jones.
Voilà, attends, je passe une vidéo. Voilà, ça c'est moi. Voilà, ça c'est un truc que j'ai fait.
Years, but we chose not to because we trusted the right thing's going to happen. Right thing's not going to happen unless we make it. And after that, you have the potential to truly be brothers and sisters. You have the truly the potential to be past the letting cultural, national, religious markers evict the fact that I know that I'm talking and I'm with a human being, and that our before past any physical difference. My job is to honor the soul of that other human being. So there's no need to have allies because I'm not at war. I truly have a brother and sister. There's no need to have an ally because there's no threat of war. I refuse to send any 18-year-old boy or girl off to die. And that has to be something that's much, much deeper than policy, much, much deeper than the human condition in the last 500 years. We have to get back to that. So that's my humble opinion. I don't know, where that takes white America, but I hope we stay standing up, fighting together.
You know, Mike, we've been having this great conversation, and a lot of people watching, they probably want to know, because again, these things happen in flashes where 1 minute we're talking about this, everybody's fired up, everybody's willing to do
Yeah.
things, and then the next minute, the momentum dies. So how can the people who
Yeah.
are watching now, how can they keep this conversation, this action, this momentum going?
Take this conversation, get 8 to 10 people around you, your neighbors and people who live within 10 square miles, and start to see what you can do to affect. And then connect with other people that may be in closer proximity, 30, 40, 50 miles, even another city or places that are doing it right, that are doing it right in other places. Connect with those people and just, if all of us do a little, no one has to do a lot. If all of us do a little, if all of us pick a little to do, no one will have to do a lot.
That's a word right there. If we all do a little bit, nobody has to do a lot.
Have to do a lot. Absolutely.
Nobody has to do a lot. Mike, I have enjoyed this conversation like I enjoy every conversation with you. I can certainly talk to you. Yes, it is mutual. The mutual respect and love in society right here. Thank you, and more importantly, thank you for everything you do on the ground. I mean, so many people. I mean, I knew that you tell the truth the way it needs to be told, but a lot of people during this time of crisis have been exposed to you and understand that. I mean, you really are for the
Non,
people.
mais là,
This is called We the People.
le banane.
This is
C'est
you
ça,
all
c'est comme
the
ça,
day
les
long.
gars,
So
faut
thank
pas
you for
bouffer une
all the
banane. C'est un peu casse-couille. Parce que
inspiration,
sinon,
all
le
the
mec il
words,
s'énerve pour
everything
avoir
that
une
you're
banane.
adding to this conversation, and more importantly to
Je te
this
jure.
action. With that said, we have to say goodbye, but we don't have to get out of here just yet because I'm gonna toss this on to my brother
Okay.
Van. Who can take it from here.
Jamel and I, we spent the past hour, been talking to Killer Mike, we've been talking to Elaine Walteroff. We also got a chance to see that amazing video from Lobi. Jamel, what did you get from your conversation with Killer Mike? And more importantly to me, what do you make of this moment that we're in?
The one thing you can always expect from Killer Mike is blunt honesty. I think that's why a lot of people look at him as a really credible voice right now. He's honest about what he knows and honest about what he doesn't know. So I think when you have those elements, that's going to always make for a pretty good conversation. I'm with you. I mean, this moment at the same time is welcome. It's also a little bit surreal in terms of what took us so long to get here to make sure that we're not always starting from ground zero every time we have to have a significant conversation about race in this country.
Why do you think it's different this time? Because I mean, there have been videos before, and yet people still now act like they're shocked. Help me understand what's different this time.
Pardon.
It's two things that
Ah,
I
putain.
think stood out about the George Floyd video. One, there was no yeah but. And granted, in my mind, we've seen videos where there was no yeah but people nevertheless invented a yeah but. But in this one, there really wasn't one, even if you were Stretch Armstrong trying to stretch and find one, there just wasn't one. What always has just stuck with me is the look on this officer's face as he was kneeling on George Floyd's neck. It was so cold. It was as if this were Thursday. And he showed such little emotion, remorse, any emotion you want to name, he didn't show any of that as he killed a man in the middle of the street with bystanders looking on. So I think in that situation, coupled with the fact we had already been reeling from Ahmaud Arbery, we had already been reeling
Wow,
from Breonna Taylor,
c'est
and even though the
c'est n'importe quoi.
situation wasn't fatal, there was definitely a storm of frustration at what happened with Christian Cooper. So this all together leads us to this moment where finally, even the most adamant naysayers who wanted to pretend as if this wasn't a structural problem, what could they say?
Bengal, il
There
fait
was
quoi là?
nothing else that could be said, and I think
Wow,
everybody who was already fed up
il s'énerve ce
decided
banane.
now is the moment, now is the time. The world has slowed down because of COVID-19. If we're going to address this, this needs to happen now.
I've never seen 20, 30 million white people asking black people for leadership. That's interesting because they say, well, what do you want me to do? I'm like, well, I don't know. Google is a powerful tool. I don't know. I'm realizing now, though, that this is an honest question. How do you think that we as African Americans and our allies can rise to meet a moment like this and actually accept the fact that we may actually have a couple million new allies? And how do we deal with that? That's new for us.
I'm glad you used the word leadership because there's a difference between us being put in a leadership position and us being put in an educational position. The educational part, we are long past, right? We don't need to be educating anybody else about race. We're not here to soothe you. We're not here to make you feel better. But leadership is something different. And it looks different depending on how you want us to take that leadership. Certainly, we are accustomed to being a voice on these issues. We're accustomed to setting the agenda. It's fine if we continue to lead in that direction. I think what we're looking for is if this were, a relay race, we want to pass the baton and we want you to be able to say, okay, here's what we've been feeling about this issue. Here's what needs to happen to change it. The other part of this race is that you got to be willing to run it just as hard and as fast as we are. Because if you're not, that's why we remain stuck in the flying pattern that we've been in for hundreds of years and decades as we've tried to reconcile this issue. So we have to figure out where what is the most useful way of allyship. We see a lot of people throwing statements around. We see a lot of people throwing money around. We need that to be a focused effort, and more importantly, to be vocal about it. I can't I can't take any more double-sidedness. There can be no more other siderisms, if I may make up a word, meaning that you give over here and you're a company that is like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, except for in my boardroom where they don't, or except for my organizational chart where they don't. So I'm done with that, right? That's great. Charity's great. Charity doesn't change structural racism, right? What changes it is when you actively look in your building and ask, why aren't there more black people in this building, in this boardroom, in this C-suite? So the allies that we have, what you can do, change the structure and cultures of your companies, of your businesses, of wherever it is you have influence. Start there.
The thing I try to tell people is, it puts us in a no-win situation. I want our white sisters and brothers to be better educated and to care more, but I don't want to have to bear the burden of trying to teach and educate all the time. The reason you pay tuition is because it's costly to educate someone. You coming up to me and saying, educate me, that's costly to me emotionally and from a time point of view. Also, I think we have to be very honest. Nobody would go up to somebody and say, teach me Russian in 5 minutes. And by the way, make me feel good about it. Right? I mean, wait, hold on a second. Like, you want me to teach you about racism, which is the history of race in America is just as complicated as Russian. And you want me to teach you that in 5 minutes? And also, if I make you feel bad about it in any way, now I got to be your therapist too. And like you said, soothe you away. That's got to stop. I would love for somebody to come to me and say, I made my whole family watch the 13th and read the new Jim Crow and read White Fragility, and we had a question on page 52. Now, hey, we can have that conversation all day long because you're doing your homework, but don't flop on me like you never heard of Google. If you wanted to know about cryptocurrencies or whatever, you find that stuff out before any black person ever heard of it. So I'm sure you can educate yourself about anything you want to know. I have to say something to you because I've never gotten a chance to talk to you. I feel like I know you because I'm such a big, mad, crazy Scandins fan. But I love you to death. I just am so proud of you. I'm saying proud of you almost with passion. I am so proud that you exist. Where do you find the strength to continue to do what you're doing and say what you're saying, even in the face of opposition, to the point where now the whole world has to listen to you? Where did you find the strength when they weren't listening?
I guess maybe this is just part of the black woman's condition is that we don't know any other way. And most of us, I come from a line of black women who were just like this. My mother's like this.
Cross racial lines, people identify with me just because I'm your typical American guy. And I have some special needs. I'm not going to deny them special. I'm a smart kid, went to Morehouse, had an understanding of some cool stuff. I married a beautiful woman, that helps. But I think that ultimately what resonates with people is that I'm a regular guy. One of my best friends in the world is a white guy from Brooklyn. So I think that people understand that I have the ability not to look past your race or ethnicity, not to look past who you are culturally, but to look at it and love it and learn from it without wanting to co-opt it or be it.
What you're talking about in a very succinct and robust way is really allyship. And that's been a word that, yeah, you have a lot. It sounds like you have a lot of really great allies that are in your life. Now, in this moment, I've gotten the question constantly. I assume you have too about how to be an ally. What do I have to do? Right? I've had so many conversations with white people, like really good friends of mine, in the last
Yeah.
2 weeks. Where all right, guys, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but
Yeah, but hold on, hold on.
hold on a second. Right.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, is that what would you say to somebody who wants to not only be an ally but be a good ally?
You want to be a good ally in this moment, white corporation, white person with the means. That's a worthy allyship. On a
Pardon.
ground level, if you're just working hard every week, you don't know what to do. You're an electrician, you're a plumber. Grab one young man who doesn't look like you, a young woman, and teach them that trade. That's allyship. Allyship isn't just throwing the money, but if you got the big money, put it towards somewhere. But on a very real and basic level, my son had an accident with a man named Keith. I bought my son a car. My son Malik was a very pretty girl in the front seat, rear-ended this guy. Um, calls me. I pull up to Keith and the police officer. I say, if you'll allow me to handle this privately, I just don't want to call my insurance company because I have just gotten in an accident because I drive fast. My son, Keith, in good faith, gave me the opportunity to do that, and me and this man became friends. I'm literally friends with this white man who told me about Atlanta, pre-white flight and desegregation, who's taught me about fatherhood and the importance of presence in your child's life. That doesn't happen if we're not open for it to happen. So an allyship with white people doesn't have to be an organization of saving the world. But you do have to do what me and Keith did. You do have to, on blind faith, trust someone who doesn't look like you and allow that person to educate you. So an allyship is not just calling your black friend and saying what I do. It's going to black organizations that might be local and saying what I do. It's calling your friend and saying, what's the next thing doing? And I want to be an extra set of page. Doesn't mean you get to go to the black people meet. All these other years, but we chose not to because we trusted the right thing's going to happen. Right thing's not going to happen unless we make it. And after that, you have the potential to truly be brothers and sisters. You have the potential to be past the letting cultural, national, religious markers event the fact that I know that I'm talking with a human being and that our before past any physical difference, my job is to honor the soul of that other human being. So there's no need to have allies because I'm not at war. I truly have a brother and sister. There's no need to have an ally because there's no threat of war. I refuse to send any 18-year-old boy or girl off to die. And that has to be something that's much, much deeper than policy, much, much deeper than the human condition in the last 500 years. We have to get back to that. So that's my humble opinion. I don't know, where that takes white America, but I hope you stay standing up fighting together.
Bon, bonjour à tous, hein. Moi je vais dire bonne nuit, bonne soirée. J'espère que c'était plaise. Bon, si vous aimez bien. Allez, juste laissez un petit like et voilà quoi. Allez, bonne nuit à tous.